Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the None and Ever podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Bromley, and we are here with an episode which is probably going to look a little bit more like a therapy session than an analysis show. It's been a challenging few weeks, a challenging season for the mighty Clarets as Scott Parker's side are just unrecognisable in every aspect of the game. I'm joined this week by regular panellist Rich Steele, and we are going to be talking about what is going on at Burnley and where the future holds for us. Rich, this is going to be a difficult chat, but we said we would do it. You and I are going to sit down and put something out there with our thoughts as to where we're going with this season. It's going to be a bit of an organic chat. We're going to basically debate between us what we think is going wrong and what we think we need to do to fix it. So I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to open the floor to you just to give us some opening comments, relatively short, just to the summary of just how you're feeling. Let's kick us off with a quick couple of minutes intro.
Yeah, good evening, Natalie. Good evening, listeners. I suppose it might not be evening from where you're listening from, but it's a really, really tough time, isn't it, for Burnley as a club? I think people will articulate it better than me, but I kind of feel like it's gone beyond the pitch now. You know, when a lot of our podcasts that we've done, we were highlighting, defending, setup, shape, different things like that, and I feel like it's gone a little bit deeper than that. It's gone to a point where we're questioning where our future is as a club on and off the pitch. We're questioning our identity. We're questioning heavily, I really think, for the first time, not just from a few people, but from large pockets of Burnley fans. I would almost go to as far as saying the majority of Burnley fans are really questioning the board now. It's hard for me being in Ireland at the moment, not go. People may think, it's better being in Ireland because you can't go to the games. I still miss going to the games and going, but at the same, like when I've been watching the recent games, it sounds like Turf Moor sounds toxic, which is so sad because to me, growing up in Wigan, there's a lot of people who go to Burnley who aren't from the town and who go from the outside, and a lot of people will laugh at this, but to me, going to Burnley and going to Turf Moor was always something I really looked forward to, as almost like something spiritual for me. Now, I'm not a religious person, so I suppose Burnley's the closest thing I've got to religion. And to see the club and everything around the club so toxic at the moment is really, really difficult. And I was trying to think about this because sometimes in life, you're never as good as you think, or the situation's never as good as you think it is, or the situation's never as bad as you think it is. But at the moment, so I'm trying to be like rational on this as well, but at the moment it is a really, really difficult time.
Yeah. Well, for the purposes of this podcast, Rich, you don't need to be rational. I mean, I can be the rational one for us, and I can be the mediator of what we talk about tonight. But your position on this podcast is and always will be as a fan. You're not a representative of the club. You don't owe anybody anything other than to talk organically and with feeling as to how you believe the club is faring up at the moment. So you don't need to hold back. I can do that for you. Don't worry. But I think, I mean, that opening is exactly how we're all feeling. And I think most of the commentary that we've seen on social media, which is the primary place where we all get our mood check from the fans, is echoing all of those things here. We are questioning the manager, we're questioning the players. They obviously always take the starting firing line for all of this. But you're right, a vast majority of fans that I've seen are questioning the board. We're questioning everything that we know about Burnley and including our identity. So I think let's break that down a little bit, because I think there's so much to cover in this episode. I think our listeners will probably want to cover all of these things. Let's start with the obvious one, and that is the managerial position. We are in the most ridiculous scenario this season where you've got a manager who is so fundamentally underperformed, like even worse than Company did, and I didn't think that was possible. A side where he is, I'm sorry, let me caveat this and say what most Burnley fans are thinking. This doesn't go to Scott Parker's character as a man. I think he's an incredible human being. I think he's a thoroughly nice guy. What he's done for the club in terms of his presence around the community and with the staff and with the players is exactly what we needed. And he felt like a really good fit when he came from a personality perspective. But the cold light of the day is it is not here to be a ambassador for the club. He's not here to be a community-driven fundraiser. He's here to be the first team coach and manager of players, and that is his number one job, and he is grossly underperforming of that. And Rich, we're in a situation where that has been left to just carry on all season. Calls for his head have been ignored, and Burnley fans are pretty patient. We don't demand managers being sacked after 2 or 3 poor results, but this season's been terrible. And then on top of that, we've had a complete lack of communication as to why that has happened. So I guess from your perspective, a couple of things. What are Scott Parker's fundamental flaws? Is it just that he's got a ceiling as a championship manager? Is there something more here? And secondly, do you carry on giving him the job? So again, Scott Parker.
I think, you know what, I'm not going to cover what you said. I think you've covered it perfectly about, he seems a really good guy, a really good family man. He wants it to work. I don't think anybody doubts that. He doesn't care. But his position, in my opinion, has just got to the point where it's untenable. There's a part of me that goes, well, why don't you just resign? Like, surely you've made enough money in your football career that you don't need.
Why would he? If he loves it that much, Rich, why would he?
He doesn't, we all understand body language. He's done, isn't he? He knows he's done. Right. He's had a really couple of really tough press conferences on the back of games where I'm almost felt sorry for him. And I think, so that's where I kind of reserve. I don't feel sorry for him too much because I'm like, well, you're not like a nothing manager who's come from nowhere who this money that he'll get from getting sacked. I'm like, surely you could resign. And I'd love to know what the conversations are between him and Pace and the board, or if there are any conversations. But I'm going to leave the board just for now. Yeah. And I think the one thing that's really surprised me is how awful we are defensively. We have conceded the most goals in the top 5 leagues across Europe. And we're all aware there's a big difference between the Championship and the Premier League. But for us to be so bad, we are awful. We don't track runners. We have massive gaps in midfield. We just we're ball watching balls into the box. Nobody takes command of the situation. There's no leaders back there. Whether we play 5 at the back, 4 at the back, there's still big gaps. I still think we look a little bit better with 4 at the back, because when a team kind of breaks that press and we've got nobody in midfield, our defence are kind of like just a little bit like just stood there waiting for these waves of attack to come on them. And that's not been corrected all season. When we defended under Dyche, we used to be really compact and narrow. And listen, it was different. We could allow teams to put crosses in the box because you had me, Keane, then you had me and Tarkowski, then you had Pope who could deal with it. Yeah. Where we don't have that real commanding centre half who can deal with that. I do. And then there's times where, we have scored goals in some games, and there's other games where we've looked like we wouldn't have scored, like West Ham, for example, where we wouldn't have looked like we had 10 minutes in the second half. But other than that, never looked like scoring. And too many games for me where we start playing at 2-0 down, we start taking risks when we go 2-0 down, maybe a bit like Palace, and we caught, a little bit of a roll and got a bit fortuitous in that game. But yeah, I think the one word I could describe the club at the moment is just passive. Yeah. There's a passiveness. Like, it's not like people, the way we play is passive on the pitch. The way we are off the pitch is passive. There's no like fire in the club. Some people like it, some people don't like it, but I've always been quite fascinated by Sir Alex Ferguson and that dynamic and the dynamic they had when they had the successful team. And, and I know there's a lot of podcasts on them now, but they always talk about the conflict they had in training, the conflict they had in the dressing room. There doesn't seem to be any of that at Burnley. I've heard someone say when they left Burnley that if there's any type of negativity or criticism, Pace that's just a big no-no. It has to be so positive all the time. And that doesn't in first-class institutions, you've got to have difficult conversations to get better and to improve. And that's what it just seems to me. There just seems a real passiveness to everything about the club at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's reflected as well, Rich, in Scott Parker's managerial sign as well, which is
and that's him, isn't it? He is quite just blasé.
He's very bland.
Oh,
I've said this a few times. He doesn't possess, for me, the ruthless edge that you need to succeed in elite level sport. You know, it's the old adage that nice guys finish last, and you know, it's a bit tongue in cheek. Is that
it's hard that though, because he's a guy who won the Player of the Year in England. Played for England, got England's Player of the Year.
That aggressiveness in his playing style hasn't translated to his managerial style, has it?
There's such a counterbalance between him as a player and him as a manager. You know,
different skill set, obviously. I think it's a difficult one, Rich. And I think, like I say, he is very passive. He's passive in his coaching. He's passive in his treatment of the players. And actually, I wonder whether that's why he is so popular with ALK, and that's why that they've not come out and sacked him yet. Oh,
we can't help coming up.
What do you think, Freya Steele?
Oh my word!
Do you think that he should go? Freya Steele would have sacked him by now. But yeah, sorry, to finish that point, Rich, we had. I have a cat. I don't have a child. I have a cat. And I have a baby who's asleep. It's that. Yeah, you're right, and that's translating all across the board. And if ALK have got a manager in there who mirrors their values as that very passive, very glass always full, avoid conflict at all, you know, and very much gentle. It's the gentle parenting of football that's happening in the club, and that's the way that it's going. Then of course he's not going to get. Indeed, yes, Freya. So I guess. Just the final point then on Scott from that perspective, Rich, is that we are going to go down into the Championship. There's no question about this. There's no way we survive this season. Scott Parker's going to be in charge. They're not going to sack him. I'm quite sure of it. So he's back in his comfort zone again then of being absolutely brilliant as a Championship manager. Hopefully with automatic promotions. Back again. We're then back in 12 months' time. We're back in the Premier League again. We're going to have exactly the same season. So to me, we're being told by the board that they consider us a Premier League outfit. We just keep having to go to the Championship at the moment in transitional period. That they're going to build, and eventually Alan Pace wants us to be challenging for playing in the Champions League. This managerial appointment and this insistence that we stick with Scott Parker does not mirror what they're saying to us, what the plans are. When do you sack him, Rich? Do you sack him now, or do you give him the Championship?
I think the problem is, right, when a new manager comes in, tough Premier League season, Company left, and then Parker comes into it's all new, there's all a new freshness. But the problem is with Parker now, too many bridges have been burnt.
Yeah.
So as soon as I think in that Championship season when we were having them 0-0s and it was boring, people kind of understood how difficult the transfer window was for him. Where I don't feel like people are going to give him... Oh, my God. This child. You're daft, aren't you? Trying to be sensible here. Oh, my word.
Freya, let Daddy speak.
No,
so cute.
I feel like people's not going to have the patience for them by a couple of results in the Championship. And
Rich, we were third for most of last season as well, don't forget.
I'm going to come back to that Championship season shortly because it ties in with something I'm going to say. To me, I think that there's other people who never liked Parker because of the way he played in the Championship, and they'll go, well, he got us up. And then as soon as it started going wrong in the Prem, they were like, get rid of him. I know Tom was one of them. And I think fair enough.
I was kind of on there as well, to be honest.
And I was probably one of them, well, you know what? We're competitive. We've done okay. We got ourselves out of relegation zone. Yeah, we lost a couple of games. For me, the turning point, I'm going back in time now, but to me, the turning point was Fulham at home. when we just conceded really crap, sloppy goals. And Hartman obviously got a lot of criticism, and some people, in my opinion, I'm going to come on to him actually as a point.
We're going to do players next, so let's finish off. Come to players next.
To me, that was the moment going into December where we had kind of like 2 home games against Everton and Newcastle, and you kind of think we're still in the picture. Where now it's way too late, but there's also still standards that you've got to uphold of an organisation, of an elite level club, and ultimately to go back down to the Championship, you still need a little bit of momentum. Or there's talks like season ticket. Well, there's not talks. Season tickets are going up. Tickets are going up all the time. It's becoming so people are just going to be like, I'm not staying if Parker's staying and watching that again, and we're going to have to sell players and different things like that. And I just don't understand. You mentioned the strategy. Where the strategy is, where is the strategy? To me, it's either 2 things. They either genuinely don't care anymore, and there's obviously all this talk of Espanol, or they're that clueless and incompetent that they don't realise how bad it is, or they're that blinkered or that ignorant. Yeah. So I don't know which is worse. It's like, which is the best of 2 evils in my position there. And I've always been one who has been more wary of the board than others from the start. I've not heard it as publicly because you're kind of afraid of a backlash. And I go back to it and I go like, I've always gone back to it and I've gone, why have they bought Burnley? Why have these random people bought Burnley? We were a Premier League club at the time. They want to make money in it. That's fine. We all have agendas and that's fine. But the way they're going about it is just completely negligible at best.
I can't believe it's to make money because everybody knows that you don't get money from football clubs.
But if they're in the Premier League, they'll get a cut of the pie when the club's making that much money. And they bought a Premier League club that they probably thought was sustainable. And obviously...
Quick pause on that actually, Rich. One of the things that, and I do support Alan Pace, and I do work with him on the fan advisory board, and I've been critical when I've needed to be, but I've also been supportive when I've thought it was a good idea. But when he did his Football Focus interview last week, which I thought was awful, the one thing that horrified me, I think more than anything, was his comment that he said that when ALK were buying the club, people were saying to him that Premier League survival was pretty much a guaranteed cert. It's like, what?
Well, he doesn't have a clue.
What?
He doesn't and this isn't his fault.
Who was advising you of that?
But this isn't his fault. He doesn't have a clue. That is simple. That for me isn't up for debate. He doesn't have a clue. He's got no idea.
Have a clue about what, Rich? Let's not throw generalisations at him. Let's be specific.
He doesn't have a clue about football. He doesn't. This might be not a big thing to people, but on that one of the documentaries, for one, he didn't know who Eric Dyer was. An England international playing in Champions League. And I'm not being funny. You go and ask 95% of people who watch football, they know who Eric Dyer is.
Yeah.
Just little small snippets. And going back to away from the finances, he won't have a clue about the tactical side. So he won't understand why this football's not great to watch, even in the Championship. It's a bit like me.
Eyes. Surely he can see that it's not.
But Natalie, like, I'm in Ireland at the moment. When I watch Gaelic football, my father-in-law will say to me, "Oh, this is a terrible style of play." But I can't tell the difference in that because I'm not grew up watching it.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean this to sound rude. If I went to you, "Oh, this is these guys play really good rugby league," you wouldn't know that because you're not growing up watching it.
Yeah.
Where I have growing up in Wigan. So this is what I'm trying to...
I was a bit like that watching the Super Bowl last weekend. I'm new to the NFL.
Perfect American Super Bowl.
I
don't understand
this is a good strategy. No.
Like, you can kind of know the basics. If someone's hit a goal from 25 yards, like, that's a good goal. But the intricacies of the game and the wider picture of it, he doesn't have a clue. That is just simple. And that's not his fault, by the way. That's just the reality of the situation. It's also
understandable if it's new to the game as well.
That's fine.
Like, we've been watching it for all our lives. So
but then I think 6 years down the line, 5-6 years down the line, that it's coming to a head now. And people are starting realising it. And that Football Focus interview was the mask slipping.
Yeah, that was not. I mean, yeah, that
That was
was.
his true colours coming out.
I
So if
don't know
he's saying
who
that on
advised him of
TV, imagine what he's saying in private with a board and people and all his cronies.
Yeah, I mean, even those of us who support him and stand by him or will give him the benefit of the doubt were pretty horrified by that message. And then to double down on it as well in his programme notes and to say he didn't mean for his words to take offence, but he didn't mean the message. It's like
he meant what he said. He knew what he was saying. He meant what he said.
Yeah,
he meant what he said. And I'm going to go back to the one thing I'll give him credit for. That company appointment for that championship season was a brilliant appointment. Fair play, to get company in, to get a player with that, to get a name of that stature. Would it, if he didn't go to that, who knows where that would have gone if he stayed for another championship? I don't know. But I look at the promotion season under Parker. We got promoted in spite of the board. The way they handled that transfer window was a disgrace. We were selling everybody in the last week or the last 10 days in like a panic sale instead of having that organised. And we were signing players on the last day. Like, got Hannibal in on the last day, Worrell, or close enough, Sarmiento late on. And like, remember that team we had at Sunderland?
Anthony came in. And
Anthony was another one.
Anthony came in. Fleming came in. He came on his helicopter and saved the day.
And it was so haphazard. And it worked in the end. And, you go up, right, it worked in the end. But that could have so easily gone the other way, where it didn't work. So,
yeah.
I just think there's no plan. There's no, and where are we sat? And recruitment again this season has been awful. Our best signing is a 36-year-old goalie.
Yeah, who's he's made some mistakes as well. Listen, I think a couple of points to pick up from there. I think you're right. I think ultimately the board couldn't see. I think the mistake started with the loyalty in Vincent Kompany. They didn't sack him in the Premier League season when he had an awful season. They kept with him from the Championship. Bayern Munich came in and he could not leave quick enough. They were hurt by that. They didn't see it coming. They should have seen it coming. I remember podcasts at the time who were very critical about them for that. It showed him too much respect and they were very naive with the Vincent Kompany things. They weren't prepared for Kompany leaving. So they then had to panic with a managerial appointment under Parker, which probably wasn't the right manager at the time, but then probably did fit in with their values as we've talked about, so they went in there. They then had to fire sale all of the players. The players they got in, we've got a manager who's only just come in. The club's still smarting from Kompany leaving. They're having to start all over again, and we've never recovered from that. And we're still in that situation. And I think a second point, which I think has gone on this season, we were also hamstrung, I think, in the summer transfer window with too many mandatory purchase options from loan players that we had last season, where we had to spend 50-60 million in the summer signing players on permanent transfers who haven't started the season, don't improve the squad for the Premier League, and have effectively not been very good signings. And for that perspective, that's put us behind in summer transfer window. We've not been able to buy very well. So there are some things, but you're absolutely right. We now start. Vincent Kompany started all of this. Them not seeing the right on the wall. They naively thought that Vincent Kompany would stay for another championship season after he'd had a taste of the Premier League, and he absolutely wasn't going to. And we're still treading water from that. We've not really quite got our heads above water for that.
But what I would say then to that is, I agree to a certain extent with Kompany, but to not foresee that he was going to leave or something was going to happen. Yeah. But then, they're doing the same with Parker then.
Yeah.
They're staying loyal.
Who's going to take Parker?
No, but what I'm saying is they're staying loyal to Parker by not sacking him. So it's the same mistakes. And you could argue with the recruitment that the lads who Freya, can you hear her there?
We can hear her loud and clear.
Oh my word.
It's nice. It's helping ease. Do you know, when they say, when you're in therapy and somebody shows you puppies and kittens, it's like we're showing our listeners. We've got listeners. I've got Freya Steele, and it's just helping.
She's a character. But I would also say that the lads who we did get from the mandatory loan have done better than the vast majority of the signings we've made who weren't mandatories.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. Even though they've not improved the side, they have done better.
But has that impacted then the situation? But then that's
who got? There's three, wasn't there? So just put there. There was Humphreys, Anthony, and Fleming.
Anthony's done okay, not quite good enough. Fleming's done okay.
Yeah.
But then you can go to the other point and you can go like, they got criticised for not making Utella and Harwood Bellis's and Matson mandatory signing, so they probably put that into the clause, haven't they?
Yeah.
Like, to me, I look at that recruitment and I go, listen, Walker's Walker. He's giving it a go, but he's just, listen, Father
Time. He checked out months ago.
Yeah, but I do also think Father Time's caught up on him a little bit, which happens. I've not watched Walker and go, there's a lack of effort, like I have with some of them. I just think
I have in some games.
No, I just think he's just past his best. There's times where he's tried to press and nip balls and he's got caught, maybe because 2 or 3 years earlier, he could defend aggressively because his pace and his power would get him out of situations. Listen, we can all have a different viewpoint on that, but like Schwaner, this is a young kid, isn't he? But really poor. Hartman to me is everything that sums up and is wrong. Now, this might be harsh to some people, but everything that is wrong with this current regime. He's a player initially and who looks good, does some good things, but then when the tough gets going and the shit hits the fan, the true identity and the true character comes out, and they don't want to know.
That play acting against Mansfield in the
disgraceful. It is disgraceful and embarrassing.
I'd have hooked him off and fined him.
And that is everything that I hate about a Burnley player.
Yeah.
He didn't track back. I don't want to just be on Hartman, but he didn't track back against Fulham. And there was another player who we signed who was similar, that Assignon, who had the odd nice touch here and there, could play a ball, blah, blah, but lacked character. And this is where we're getting with ALK. We're signing these lads who have got a bit of talent, but they lack a bit of character. And you know what? It's always funny, isn't it? Say that again, sorry.
Are we buying too young? Is that the problem?
Yeah, but young lads can... I don't think we're getting the balance right between we're signing really experienced, Dubravka's worked, and then these lads who are too young. But the problem is they don't have the money to go and sign what Sunderland's done and signed proven lads who are in the mid-20s. For example, you look at Sunderland, they signed Diarra for quite a lot of money. You'd have to forgive me. I can't remember what French club he came from. They signed Alderete from Getafe, I think, who was in the La Liga team of the year. They signed Ronaldo from Atletico Madrid. They signed Rowe, the goalie, who was proven, and they signed that Brobby, who's done really well in Holland, and Siddiqui was another one who's come in. So this is why at the beginning of the season, everyone's like, well, Sunderland signing these players will be another Burnley. Like, I'm not just saying like hindsight's a great thing, but I did say in the group chat, didn't I, about Sunderland, because I knew of these players and I knew of the calibre that they were. And we're kind of scraping the barrel. And I look at it and I go, we've signed, you don't know what the exact figures are, but best part of 50 million on Florentino, Schwaner and Brozier. Jesus.
I'm going to clip that sound. That's going to be the tagline that's going to be the trailer for this episode.
So people can criticise your Anthony's and Laurent and Fleming, whatever. Bloody hell, them three.
Have them three before the other three.
People are going, Florentino will be better if he was in a different system. Who knows, right? But it don't matter what system he is when he can't pass the ball to one of your own players.
Yeah.
I think he forgets what team he's playing on me. Or the ball. It looks like the ball's too heavy for him because every time he passes it, he underhits it. But anyway, don't like Florentino. Like, I watched him early doors and I went, oh my God, where have we got him from?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. It's like we've kind of blurred the two together. You've got a poor Premier League coach coaching poor Premier League players. And for me,
With
one
a
of the
poor
problems
board
is as well, huh?
at the top, with a poor
Well,
board at the
we're
top
gonna come
level.
on to the board next, I think. But I think for me, sort of on the pitch, none of them. It's not just Parker's fault. It's not just the players' fault, but they're all culpable in their own way. One of the things that's frustrating me about Parker and the players is that we are how many games into the season? We're suddenly in February, and Parker still doesn't seem to know what his best side is. He tinkers every single game, and it's just like, and that lack of consistency and lack of belief in his players, and it's just, and the lack of accountability as well. It's really, really appalling. Now, yes, people point. Sorry,
go on, Natalie. Sorry,
people point to losing Cullen as well, which has been a fundamental loss, certainly from that character perspective on the pitch. But it's not like we were excelling when Cullen was in the squad anyway, so I don't think that's necessarily a good enough excuse for where we are right now. I think the players and the manager are all just way, way, way out of their depth in this league.
I think as well, Cullen has been a loss. We've kind of gone from being in games to then not being in games.
Yeah.
But like, the one thing I would say on Parker is there has been times where we've got a good result. For example, like we drew away at Liverpool or something, and then like the next game, we've then put in a really poor performance with that same starting 11. So then it's been difficult for Parker to maybe pick a consistent 11 when you've not been consistently able to put runs together. Or, I suppose that was Dyche's biggest strength in a way, where he wouldn't know his best starting 11. And even if they had a bad couple of results, he would stick with that. I know we had a smaller squad, but I think the problem is whoever you bring in at the moment, because we've got a bit of a loser mentality, the personnel doesn't really make much of a difference because the culture's not right. And if the culture's not right, it becomes it just becomes a disease throughout the squad. So whether you swap one winger for another or one striker for another, if the culture's not right, and you're not going to get anywhere. But like, I'd really like to know the players' point of view on Parker. To me,
it's been very close.
But to me, Natalie, they like the manager, but that's not always a good thing.
No, I agree. Because if you like your manager, you're not going to get dropped either. You're not going to be held accountable for your own performances.
You've got to respect your manager rather than like your manager.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah, you're not supposed. Scott Parker's not supposed to be their friend. He's supposed to be their boss. He's supposed to be.
He might not be that, and you don't know. But it's funny, innit? You've kind of gone back to this season in the last game we won, and in my opinion, he was man of the match. To old Hannibal's come back in the team. And for all his frailties, and he's a nutcase, but he's one lad who gives 100% every time he walks on that pitch.
There are a few.
Yeah, there are. Listen, there are.
Josh Loren isn't blessed with talent.
But it's just going back to a lot of these new signings are the ones who aren't putting 100% in.
Yeah.
Would be, and Loren just lacks quality, doesn't he? He's an average championship player.
But he is on the pitch what we need right now in terms of Worrell as well in the game as well, the Palace game.
Yeah, Bournemouth, he played well and then he got injured. But then he'll bring Twanzebe back in whenever he's kind of fit and he's crap.
Yeah.
And that goes back to a bit of the board, doesn't it? Like you've replaced Egan Riley with Twanzebe. You replaced Trafford with Dubravka, so I know Egan Riley went on a free, but you spend two couple of million replacing two key positions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna criticize the board for not keeping CJ because they're.
No, I'm not, but I'm just making that's the point to do the replacement.
Yeah, we should have maintained that starting centre back pairing of Esteve and CJ. Now, same result might have been done, but at least there's some consistency there, and at least we've got a better
struggled.
He's really struggled, but again, Esteve does try.
Yeah,
there's no game this season where I've thought that Esteve doesn't care. I think he probably cares more than anybody. I would have made Esteve captain as soon as Cullen got injured, to be honest.
No, I just think that'd be too much for him. I think he needs to just concentrate on playing and play. But anyway.
Okay. The third part in our trilogy of criticism and analysis for this show. The board. Not in a good place. Not having a good relationship with their fans. You've already mentioned it earlier on in the podcast. Alan Pace starting to let that facade drip a little bit and openly critical on national TV in front of the world's media of his fans, calling us all 3-year-old toddlers, talking about, as I said earlier, about how he was told when he bought the club that Premier League survival was a given, doubling down on those comments in his Mansfield programme notes. We ultimately get dumped out of Mansfield in the Cup, which was the only thing we had left to celebrate this season, by the way, but fine. Oh, a quick point on that, actually, Rich. Parker made 9 changes for the Cup. I'm absolutely furious at that because it's the only thing we had left to play for. You play your first team.
Daft.
Because that's all we've got left to play. It was
daft. But at the same time, go back to the players. It's not Parker's fault when Shawana, it's, knocked out off stump with that shot, is it? So
no, that's true. So yeah, the main criticisms that we see from all of our fans at the moment are, from what I can see, threefold. The inaction and lack of communication over Scott Parker's tenure and what the plan is to get us back to being an established Premier League club. That's problem number 1. Problem number 2, the transfer policy that we've been having. What are we doing here? Where are these players coming from? Are we going to see sales every single season? We're just basically bringing in players who are commodities to try and turn over business every month. What's happening with our youth team? Are we bringing players in through the youth academy? What's happening there? And thirdly, a loss of identity under ALK. And this has been something that we've been chipping away at for some time. Changes to the club crest. We don't play in claret anymore. We're playing flipping purple, for God's sake. And we've raised this with the board. And the response we've had back is that, well, define what claret is. There is no colour that's claret. Well, it's not purple. That's what it is. And for all of the really fantastic things they've done around the technology and the consistency around the club. And actually, to be fair, one of the things I have liked about ALK is I have liked the modern approach that they've applied to our graphics and to our commercial things and the stuff around the stadium, because it is 2025 and we have to appeal to a new generation.
2026 now, honestly, isn't it?
It's what, sorry?
2026.
Oh, yeah, it's 2026, wherever we are. I'm still stuck in last season. 2026. Well, that's a new record. It's the 17th of February and I'm still you're allowed that for like the first 3 days of January, but not the 17th of February. So it's that brand identity. It's the tinkering with our club, the shirt, all of that things. And we've lost, I think, the essence of what Burnley is. Is that fair? Do you want to add anything to those lists? And where do we go in rebuilding some bridges with our
I think that's fair. I'm kind of going to go back to that point. I think, and it ties in with the point I said, I think all the stuff about off the pitch, some people will like it, some people won't like it, some people won't care. The stuff about the graphics, my soon-to-be 68-year-old dad and myself doesn't really care about any of that stuff because I'm a bit more old-fashioned, but I know like yourself and Robbie and, really like that stuff, so that's fine. The women's club football, I don't follow the women's team as much as like you and Tom's do. Maybe I should do more. Maybe it's a bit ignorant of me having a daughter myself, but I don't. But I think that's a step in the right direction.
It's not mandatory, Rich. You're all right.
No, I'm just saying. But I like the fan zone, and I look at my hometown of Wigan Athletic, and we're miles ahead of them, and etc. But I think like all the off-field stuff that's been changed, like you said, the colour, the badge slight changes and different things. If we were fighting on the pitch and progressing on the pitch, I think that stuff doesn't matter as much, and it gets brought
up
as
ammunition to just build up an armory against the board and say, well, because we're in a bad place. Oh, and by the way, while we're at it, we hate that. It's
kind of like, well, we're losing every week. Oh, by the way, why have you got that stupid? Why do you wear that stupid? Why have you got that stupid bee in the dugout? That type of thing. I think every single going off the pitch, I think every single Burnley fan that I've spoke to has got something that's changed, and sometimes you've got to embrace change and not be stuck in the past. And like you said, come to the modern world. Burnley was quite an old historic club, but everybody's got something that they're not happy with. So going back from this season to how it was really poorly communicated about how they switched the away ends. Now, somebody who sat in the same seat since I was 8, if my season ticket, that seat got stole off me with no communication, I'd be really upset.
Same.
Something else that happened was, and again, we've got to have hospitality, But a big part of me and my dad's match day routine was going in the foundation lounge. Now, I think there was like 200, 300 members, so a very small percentage. But me and my dad, for example, my dad doesn't drink. You know that from people who are close to me, that my dad doesn't drink. So for me, the pub scene of football has never been my match day experience.
No.
But
Same with me and my dad, actually.
Like I used to love going in that foundation club with my dad. We get there for like about quarter to about 1-ish, something like that. Watch a bit of the 12:30 game, have a bit of food. We got to know people. You had a little bit of you had a whatever. And then as soon as Alan Pace comes in, yeah, we're going to keep it, blah, 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 and it's gone. That room's become hospitality. And I understand the urge for hospitality, but why can't we have both? Normal fans, 95% of fans can't afford to go in hospitality, or they might go in for a birthday treat every now and again. But why not keep something open for the regular fans? So that's my.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So there's stuff that's happened off the pitch where people aren't happy, and then on the pitch we're just not going anywhere. We're just in this weird.
Going worse.
Yeah, we are going worse.
Look at Dyche's relegation one, which Jackson took us down. Company's relegation and Parker's relegation.
At least with Company's relegation, I'm looking back and how frustrating it was. At least there was an identity and it changed. But this one now, I just don't know where we're going. And if Pace come out and really aligned why he's keeping Parker, what are the reasons, X, Y, Z, people will disagree with it, but they might go, right, okay, right, if this is your
At least we know. Yeah.
We'll see. So I don't know, like it either goes back to the point I was saying to you where he either doesn't care or he's really negligible and doesn't have a clue. I think the club need a proper the days of managers running clubs are gone. So we need a proper director of football who needs to, run that side of it. But I think the problem is with Pace, he wouldn't have anybody in who wants to tell him how to do things. And I think this is part of the reason why he probably likes Parker, because he's a bit of a yes man. It reminds me a little bit of Southgate at the FA, that kind of like yes man type of mentality. I might be wrong on that. I don't know. Like you were saying, that nice guy. And Parker's happy he's in a job. It's easy for him. He's probably under no pressure. And there's nobody, like I go back to my original point, it seems like there's nobody being challenged at the club. It seems just a very easy environment to be at. And it reminds me of Tottenham. Like that losing mentality. Everything seems shiny from the outside. Nice training ground. Tottenham's got the stadium. It looks all pretty, but when it actually comes to the crux of it and actually having that real elite winning mentality, we don't have that.
No.
And if that comes from the top, it comes from the top and it's filtering down, and we've just listen, people have to say on Dyche whether it was time to go, whether it wasn't. But what he built was an identity with Burnley and that hard workingness and that grit, and that's just gone. It's just gone. That's just lost.
But you can still be relevant and modern, but retain your heritage.
Yeah, but
why have we got rid of all of it? That we didn't need to.
Yeah, but look at like somebody like Bournemouth, for example. Like Bournemouth play modern football, but they work the balls off the ball. Brentford, you watch Brentford, they work so hard off the ball. Leeds, you can play nice, tidy football, but still work hard off the ball. I'm going to bring up two things from Alan Pace, which come out of his mouth. One was from either at the start of the season or just before the season. Somebody asked him about the finances, and he went, his analogy was something like, there's certain things where we'll let people come in our house, but we don't want to let them see our bedroom. That's private, and that's regarding the real deeper finances. And as soon as he said that, that was a red flag to me, because it's like, well, why aren't you being more open about it? I don't know if you remember that, but you can go back and watch that video. And I just thought it's a weird analogy to use that when it comes down to like the debt that we have, the money, where's the actual money coming from? He used that analogy of about, I don't want you to come into our bedroom to really know about the finances. And then the other one, when his first interview, he said ALK will under-promise and over-deliver. That was a direct quote he said in one of his first press conferences. He's not.
I don't think I mind that. I don't want them to overpromise and underdeliver. That's the right way around.
Yeah, but the problem is now you say them words and stupid comments like that come back to bite you, because now, like you said, we're going backwards. and we're going backwards quickly.
Well, they're not. Yeah, they're not. They might still be under promising, but they're not over delivering.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just nonsense. And I think over time, people have just realised all he does is come out with word diarrhea. He's just full. I wish Cal Pilkington was here and he'd just go bullshit, because he is the chief bullshit man, Alan Pace. He just comes out with a load of nonsense. And people have just got to a point where they're like, I've had enough of it.
People in Burnley don't
put up with that.
They don't align themselves with corporate managerial speak, which is what we hear a lot from Pacey's team. And I get that, because that's their background and that's what they work in and that's what they understand and that's the language that they're used to operating in on a day-to-day basis. But you need to change your communication style, whether that be frequency, depth, or the language that you use. You have to tailor your communication style to your fans, to your audience. And we aren't getting that. And that's one of the frustrations with Burnley fans, is that we are normal people from a working class town. Most people are not a higher education level. Most people are good, solid workers who are tradespeople, who are in blue collar jobs, not white collar jobs. And it's like you're applying really complex, high level financial corporate speak to the running of their football club. So there's no wonder that there's a disconnect between, like, they don't understand what you're saying, Alan.
Well,
they're making these analogies and they don't understand.
For me, like me personally, I'm both. I've come from that working class background and different things like that, and and I've gone into so it's like I understand. So I've come from where it's like a no nonsense environment, and when you go into environments like going into education, people are they're just full of bluffers who talk nonsense. And in my opinion, maybe I'm being harsh here, but I think it's just come to the light of the day now that I think he's one thing that frustrates me is he'll put an Instagram post up after we beat Crystal Palace, but then there'll be nothing after we lose to Mansfield.
Yeah.
And
we're this together or we're not.
And that's what it seems to me. And like you said, I think if there was just some real clear guidance on where we're going, because I think we all know it's tough in the Premier League for a team like Burnley. We're not stupid, but we shouldn't be so many points behind our two promotion rivals.
One who we were 24 points clear of last season.
And then Leeds, you look at when we beat Leeds 2-0, and I think that's almost a sad part of this season, is when we beat Leeds 2-0, how bad it's gone. And how bad it's gone, and for that not to be recognised at the top level. And I think my kind of like final point is it's kind of like gone from people wanting Parker out to now Pace out and ALK out. And I think if Pace acted earlier and sat Parker, there wouldn't have been as much pressure on the board.
Or at least communicated why he wasn't going to sack Parker. Instead of having it's my decision.
If Parker went and somebody else came in and they still didn't do as well, you kind of go, well, we are what we are, but at least we're trying as a club to stay in the Premier League. It's that lack of trying, both on and off the pitch, that
I agree.
Frustrating people.
Let's wrap this up then, because I think we've covered all the points that I want to cover, and then I want to leave some because I fully suspect we'll have the same conversation next week as well. I'm sorry to put you on the spot with this. It might be that you don't have these immediately to hand, but between 1 and 3, let's say up to 3, what 3 things do you think needs to happen? Let's let 3 specific things need to happen, not limited to 3. What the 3 most important things that need to happen now immediately?
Right. Better communication. And none of this fluff. What are the real clear goals, and why are we keeping Parker, and a willingness to actually front up to the situation and go, we have messed up. We know we've not done it right. Just an acceptance that in that communication, I think people would be a bit more willing. And then I think from linking into the 2 football things, I think we need a director of football who gets a handle on the club and goes, right, what's our vision? And then that director of football then gets a handle on recruitment, which in 3 Premier League seasons under Alan Pace has been shocking. Really, really poor. I can count. There's not many players who we've signed for the Premier League who's been a success. So there have been some, and I think that's for me. And then I think on the pitch, is a desire. You know, we did see it in the second half against Palace, but a desire when it gets tough to roll your sleeves up and go, right, let's dig in. And more immediately, I do think we need to get rid of Parker just for the sake of to show that we're acting, because I think it's now or never for ALK.
Yeah, I agree. Excellent. Right, that's a really good summary. Listeners, that's your homework for this week. Comment at the bottom of this video or send your messages via social media. What 3 immediate steps do ALK need to do to save this season? And, well, not even save this season, not even save our club, but to start the healing process. Do let us know what your thoughts are. Rich, thank you so much for agreeing to give up an hour of your time to come and talk about this. Your insight is always exceptional. I love doing these shows with you. I just feel that the input that you bring to our sessions is insightful and it's thoughtful and it's always very well put. So thank you for giving up your time for free to give that view to our listeners.
Nobody cares more than me about Burnley. I'd love nothing more than Burnley to be doing well this season. You know, it genuinely
controversial point. Nobody cares more than me.
I feel like there's some kind of people who might go, well, you have more to talk about. We do not do this from an angle. I do not, behind my family, Burnley's the most Burnley Football Club's the most important thing to me in my life.
Yeah.
And it genuinely upsets me when we don't do well. I was upset on Saturday losing that game, and I'm upset seeing the situation of the club, and
I'm really down about it.
And and from a wider point of view, football upsets me a bit at the moment, because I think where I didn't want to go too extravagant before, because we're not in a Sheffield Wednesday, we're not in a Leicester at the moment. You know, we're not in a Wigan Athletic who's gone into administration twice. So we're not at that point yet, but I'm worried that it's heading that way.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I think that's a really good
the last thing I'll say today before people maybe
think a really good point,
like
Rich.
we don't.
We aren't representatives of the club. We're not paid journalists. We don't monetize the podcast. We don't get paid for what we do. We do this, and we've always done this because we are fans first and foremost, and we just really enjoy what we're doing. And we've often said we don't clickbait, we don't do tricks and things, we don't spend all our time on social media retweeting everybody else's tweets. What we do is, we've always said as a team that if we did this podcast and only the 7 of us, ever watched it, we'd still do it, because it just acts as a diary and good memories of our time watching Burnley. So that's where we're coming from. We just want what's best for the club. I think that's a really important point to make. For various reasons, listeners, these episodes have been a little bit sporadic, the start of this season, but the start of this year. Hopefully we'll be back next week, and hopefully we'll have something more positive to talk about. In the meantime, if you have any comments, we would love to hear from you. I know it's a really important point in the season and the club at the moment, and it's important that we all try and stick together as much as we can. So do get in touch and let us know what your thoughts are. I've been Natalie Bromley. This has been the Known and Never podcast. Until next time. The Known and Never podcast is brought to you in association with the TalkSport Fan Network. Our host and editor is Natalie Bromley, and the show is produced by Matt Moss. Our resident statistician is Dave Roberts, and our FPL expert is Adam Dennett. The Analysis Show team is collectively Tom Whittaker, Rich Steele, George Poole, Charlotte Rigby and Adam Dennett. Our music is provided by George Gaskell, and our newsletter team is headed up by Jamie Smith. If you don't already, you can subscribe to our newsletter by visiting knownandnever.substack.com. Thanks as ever go to our partners TalkSport. We are proud to be associated with the TalkSport Fan Network.